49ers, Seattle is the number 1 seed in the NFC, 13-3, the final here from Levi's Stadium. The 49ers had a major uphill climb in this game, especially after we found out that Ricky Pearsall was not going to play. They're facing an elite Seattle defense that completely smothered almost every single opportunity that San Francisco had downfield. In the first half of this game, the 49ers had to essentially go to 2 trick plays. Neither of them worked. One was a 4th and 1 play action shot downfield. I thought that was Kyle Shanahan almost in desperation mode to try to get something going offensively downfield. Obviously, that didn't click. And then he went to the double pitch to Christian McCaffrey, and that might have picked up 6, 7 yards at the most. I mean, there was nothing there. Then there was a little bit of magic in the fourth quarter, and Purdy made some sweet throws downfield, and the 49ers moved the ball. That led to the back-breaking play, where Christian McCaffrey, that was, I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that was probably the worst, most disappointing drop of Christian McCaffrey's career. Boye Mafe got his hand in there to knock the ball like slightly. It was a tip, and then it fluttered a bit, but it still got to Christian. He'll still tell us in the locker room here in a few minutes that he should have made that catch. He obviously should have made the catch, and then the linebacker intercepted it right. It was right in his breadbasket as it bounced off of McCaffrey's hands. Uncharacteristic play, one that if it goes the 49ers' way, then they probably score there, or at least get 3. Touchdown probably would have been necessary. Would have made it 13-10, and then you have a ball game at the end. We look at the overall score, 13-3, and the overarching takeaway has to be that the 49ers defense played much better than expected. They had that first drive, 4th down stop. I thought Upton Stout was fantastic today, but they also failed to capitalize on a couple golden opportunities that would have kept the 49ers in this game. The one that is going to be the lasting image from this game is the 3rd and 17, where the 49ers had a chance to get off the field, and Kenneth Walker on a pitch right ended up picking up close to 20 yards, and John Lynch was up in his box, absolutely exasperated, as he should have been. I mean, that was, to pick up anything over 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8 on the ground is an embarrassing look for a defense. And it wasn't like the 49ers were caught off guard by the play. I just thought that it was a low effort rep. With all that was on the line, and especially since the calculus of this game changed with Pearsall being out for the 49ers, with it being very clear that the 49ers were going to have to make every opportunistic stop that they could make, but especially make the high percentage stops like 3rd and 17. To give that up was downright embarrassing. The Seahawks, I think, have picked up 4 3rd and 15 pluses on the ground this year. That's the most in the NFL. They may be the only team that's converted a 3rd and 15 plus on the ground, but they converted a 3rd and 17 that was brutal. However, a few plays before that, came one of those dirty turnover opportunities that the 49ers, we talked about it all week, that the 49ers would need to jump on in this game. And Sam Darnold just tripped. He was trying to hand the ball off to his running back, and he fumbled, and Yetur Gross-Matos was right there, and the ball just slipped through his arms, and he was unable to get it. This game swung very quickly. Despite the 49ers' struggles with separation downfield, despite their struggles to protect Brock Purdy. We can talk about the last play. We're going to have a Purdy injury update for you soon from Kyle Shanahan. He did jog off the field to the locker room. But this game turned really quickly on those 2 plays. When Yetur Gross-Matos couldn't pick up that fumble, and when the 49ers gave up the 3rd and 17 a few plays after that, it went from the 49ers having the ball deep in Seattle territory, if YGM had recovered that, trailing by only 7 with a chance to tie the game, it went from that to a Seattle 2-possession lead. They were up 13-3 after Myers kicked another field goal. Then the 49ers had a chance still to claw back into the game despite an avalanche of things working against them offensively, and that's when the Christian McCaffrey drop that turned into the interception happened. All things considered, the fact that the 49ers have finished this regular season 12-5 is borderline miraculous. They've won statistically probably over 2 more games than they should have won. When you look at how injured this team was and how this team did perform in the advanced analytics, it probably should have been 10-7, but they found a way to get to this final game with a chance at the 1 seed with a 13-4 finish. Today, they didn't get those dirty breaks to go their way, and obviously the Seattle Seahawks were healthier and better in this football game. It was an elite defense, an elite front on the other end, and that played out all the way until the final desperation drive where Austin Pleasance got beaten around the edge, and then Brock Purdy got crunched by 2 guys, including Leonard Williams, and there was some blood on his right thumb, and obviously that was the game. That was 4th down. It was very clear when we saw that last drive why Kyle Shanahan did not want Purdy taking 7-step drops in this game and be put in position where he had to air it out far downfield to wide receivers who weren't separating for the 49ers, because that Seattle defensive front is a bear. It is monstrous. We saw it in week 1. The 49ers had to scrap and claw their way to 17 points. Well, today, maybe they'd be on the doorstep of 10 or at least 13 had Christian McCaffrey caught that pass, had that not turned into an interception near the goal line, but they were without Trent Williams. They were without Ricky Pearsall. They had Ricky in week 1. The math just didn't work out for the 49ers from a separation perspective, and that Seattle defense was able to snuff them out. You have to have that full offensive unit delivering against some of the top defensive units if you want to score, if you want to move the ball, and you have to execute on the opportunities that you do have. When they did actually move it on that one drive, it was killer for it to end in a turnover. You know, Seattle, the beauty of this defense for the Seahawks is that they stop the run even though they're playing in 2-shell. So it makes it hard to beat you over the top. You know, I thought that it was that 4th and 1 that the 49ers called in the first half was a play-action deep shot. And I think Kyle Shanahan said, well, maybe I can sucker them in and maybe we can beat them over the top since we're having so many separation issues across the board in mano-a-mano situations. And Seattle didn't even bite then. Like, I mean, they didn't bite then. They didn't bite on the double pitch play. You have to give credit to the Seahawks for being assignment sound, staying at home. I mean, that was elite level football from Seattle, regardless of whether or not the 49ers were shorthanded Trent Williams and Ricky Pearsall. You would expect more than 3 points, but the Seahawks were ready to capitalize on every single 49ers mistake and just absolutely snuff out the opportunities downfield. I thought that Brock Purdy played his ass off today, trying to do what he could with the very limited resources that he had. And I don't even think that George Kittle was 100%. He made a couple of nice catches today, but he didn't seem to have full explosion. Makes sense. He was coming off an ankle sprain that kept him out last week. It was less than 200 yards of total offense. And for that, you have to give the Seattle Seahawks defense a lot of credit. At the same time, you know, on the defensive end for the 49ers, we saw Upton Stout. He was one of the players who showed up for the 49ers today. He had the coverage on Cooper Kupp on the stop on the first drive. I thought Jair Brown today, he did have a nice pass breakup well, they went for Jackson Smith and Jigba on the deep pass, and he got past Renardo Green, but Jair Brown was in there to help him. I thought there was some actual real good pass defense from San Francisco today that we didn't see last week against the Chicago Bears, but the way that they played the run today at times was just downright embarrassing. And we always said that in order to hold on to some control of game flow, the 49ers would have to play the run adequately. You can't allow Seattle to go 39 for 180 on you. That's what the Seahawks did. They just constantly churned on the ground. And I know there was a dam breaking point in the fourth quarter, but there were also big runs early, like Zach Charbonnet's first touchdown, where I was just talking about Jair Brown making a good play in pass defense. He got completely eliminated by a tight end, and then the 49ers' other safety, Malik Mustafa, got crossed up in a terrible angle downfield, and Charbonnet waltzed into the end zone. The 3rd and 17 was just bad football, high school level football all around, which is why they showed John Lynch up in the booth absolutely disgusted with what the 49ers put out there. So they finished number 29 in run defense last year. I know the final ranking in run defense will be better this year, but it was disappointing to see it slide the way that it did over the course of the stretch run of this regular season. And it really, really ended up costing the 49ers today because the Seahawks held this game in their control, basically wire to wire. They got the ball first. They walked down the field. I know that the 49ers had that fourth down red zone stop, but I don't think it ever felt like the 49ers had proper footing in this game. And that's something that happens when you yourself can't run the ball. The 49ers weren't able to do that against the Seahawks front. Not a huge surprise. They didn't run it in week one either. But when the other team can. The Seahawks didn't really run the ball in week one against the 49ers, so it was on even footing. But this game today, it was not even footing. Seattle could run. They were at 180 yards on the ground. The 49ers were at 53 yards on the ground. So, I mean, the Seahawks had the backbone in this game of the run offense, and the 49ers didn't. A stinger for Brock Purdy. He should be good. D. Winters and Tatum Bethune have injuries that could affect their availability in the playoffs. An ankle for Bethune and a groin injury for D. Winters. So the 49ers might be down 2 more linebackers next week. We talk about the potential return of Fred Warner. Maybe that happens. Maybe it doesn't for the playoffs. But the divisional round is something that I think was more likely. Now the 49ers have to play in the wild card round. It's probably going to be against the Philadelphia Eagles, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. If the Rams win, the 49ers will be the number 6. The 49ers will also finish with technically the 3rd place schedule for next year in the NFC West, which could be a little bit of a benefit for them. All in all, the goal for the 49ers this year had been to push this as far as they can, especially after guys went down early in the season. You recalibrated expectations with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner out, and it was to make the playoffs. And they've made the playoffs. The pipe dream was the number 1 seed. It, again, is more borderline miraculous that they pushed it to this point, especially knowing the flaws of this team that we've outlined week after week with the defense and the eroding run defense and the separation issues downfield when they're starting to miss guys. And today, everything kind of converged because problem-wise for the 49ers with Pearsall and Trent Williams being out. The already injured defense was joined by a very injured offense. Trent's so important to this team, and they played an elite defense on the other side of the field, and they couldn't finish the job to get that 1 seed. So now they've got to move forward, see how healthy they can get in a short amount of time. There's going to be a trip either to the Central Time Zone in Chicago or to the Eastern Time Zone, more likely to Philadelphia. And they're just, I think, a playoff run for some of these young players like your Upton Stouts, and you could go through the whole roster. They're obviously playing a lot of young guys this year, but a playoff run or at least some playoff experience for these players is potentially very valuable for the 49ers as they turn the page to 2026 and obviously try to push this forward into 2026 with some key players like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa returning. If they can somehow figure out a way to get this done wherever they go on the road next week, then they'll move to the divisional round. Maybe you could start talking more realistically about a Fred Warner return. The offense has to get healthier for the 49ers to be able to compete with some of the top defenses in this game, but it's going to be a good measuring stick for the 49ers over the course of January. The first measurement today against a truly top-level defense and a balanced team came up short for the 49ers for, I think, very clear reasons. They ran out of gas. Games that they were turning into wins earlier this year, like that Rams game in Week 5, like the Seahawks game in Week 1, they just didn't have enough firepower to get it done today. And I trace it back to Williams and Pearsall at the start of this game, and then I see the opportunities that the 49ers blew throughout this game, culminating in the Christian McCaffrey drop that turned into an interception. And sometimes you're the worst team. Sometimes you just don't get the job done. And that's what happened for San Francisco as the magic ran out. Anyway, I'm headed off to the locker room. We've got a lot to cover here because the 49ers are still headed to the playoffs. It was still a very successful regular season for San Francisco. They finished 12-5 despite all of that injury carnage. We find out tomorrow who they play, and I'll report to you from the locker room. I'll talk to everybody very soon. And for maybe the last time this year, maybe not, but this is the Levi Stadium engineering room. So thanks for all the guys here for letting me do these post-game reactions. And thank you for watching. We'll talk to you very soon.